52, and the amendment is not agreed to. Are there any further amendments?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Cruz.
I call up Amendment SIL 22287. This is a very simple amendment. It simply requires that 3 years after enactment of this act that the FTC, the GAO, and the Antitrust Division review, analyze, and assess the impact of the bill and prepare a report to Congress. And I think, based on my conversation with the bill sponsors, this amendment may be acceptable and possibly able to be adopted on a voice vote.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do encourage this. And to the two previous amendments that Senator Cruz has had, which are really good amendments, addressing concerns of free speech and addressing concerns of parents, these are things we want to continue to work on. As I said earlier, we appreciate the thoughtful nature that he came forward with the bill. I think also it's important to note that Senator Blumenthal and I are also working on online privacy, children's online privacy, and there are going to be opportunities to bring some of these issues forward. Issues, as I said earlier, that have languished for a decade, that have needed the Senate's attention. And I appreciate that the focus is now on it. But for 22287, I encourage a voice vote and adoption.
Any further discussion? If not, the questions on the adoption of Amendment S22287. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Pending the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cornyn.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment that I will not offer at this time, but I do want to express concern that the bill as written includes a private right of action. For people who are not conversant with the jargon, that means it's a payday for trial lawyers. And I think that's would have a huge disruptive effect on these companies that, notwithstanding the problems we're talking about here today, which I am concerned about, are a huge part of our economy. And if, in fact, they didn't exist here in the United States, they'd be reconstructed offshore beyond the reach of the United States court system. So I would just ask the sponsors of the bill to reconsider whether we want to include in this bill a payday for trial lawyers as part of the bill, or whether we'd be well advised to take that part out. So thank you very much.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just note for Senator Cornyn, yes, we generally agree on private right of action. One of the things that we did, and why you have this very narrow, very limited provision, is it is limited to these new start app developers, these small companies that are being swallowed up by big tech. And that is the reason that it is in there, but I'll be more than happy to work with you as we work to fine-tune this bill and get it ready. This entire process is about opening up and freeing up the app marketplace for innovators and for developers. You've got a lot of them in Austin. I've got a lot of them in Nashville. And they feel as if big tech is cutting off avenues of opportunity and restricting their ability. So because of that, what we are trying to do is make certain that innovation continues for decades to come, rather than seeing this monopolistic activity continue.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just briefly respond. I appreciate the goals that Senator Blackburn's articulated. I share those goals, but I've been spent most of my adult life in and around courtrooms, and as a recovering lawyer myself, what I'm concerned about is class action lawsuits, for example. Maybe that's one area that we could find some agreement on, that there would be no opportunity for class actions. That's ways to, of course, aggregate a lot of these smaller cases where the lawyers end up getting more than the parties to the lawsuit in settlement. So I'm happy to work with Senator Blackburn, Senator Blumenthal on that provision. Maybe there's some way we can we can address that.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn.
May I
And,
ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
why, sure, Senator Kennedy.
Senator Blackburn, who else would have a cause of action other than a small discriminated against app developer?
What you will see is developers who have created an application.
Right.
And then, of course, you have someone that grabs that intellectual property. So it is specific to that developer. When they have tried to position this and then they've been blocked from positioning themselves in the marketplace. You have seen it many times, the issue of patent trolls. It is very, very similar in that regard.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. If there are no more amendments to this bill, we will vote on final passage. The clerk will call the roll on S. 2710 as amended.
Mr. Leahy. Mrs. Feinstein. Mr. Whitehouse. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cruz.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Blumenthal. Ms. Serrano. Mr. Booker. Mr. Padilla. Mr. Ossoff. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Graham.
Oh, aye by proxy, I'm sorry.
Mr. Cornyn.
No.
Mr. Lee.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Cruz. Mr. Sass.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Hawley.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Cotton.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Tillis.
I don't see a vote for Tiller. Oh, aye by proxy.
Mrs. Blackburn.
Aye.
Chair Durbin.
Aye.